Welcome to DS Trucks. In this video, I want to talk about something that I haven't talked about on the channel, and it is how I crashed my 2018 F150. So if you follow the channel, you know that my bumper was messed up for a long time now. I did just go ahead and pull out the dent with the ratchet strap. It's not perfect. When you really look at it, you can tell that something did happen, but it looks pretty good. So if you're not looking for it, you probably wouldn't notice. But for the longest time, my bumper was all jacked up. It was all dented in. And I never really addressed what happened that day. But in order for me to fully tell the story, we'd have to go back in time to the day when the accident actually happened. That day was May 28th, 2019. So it's been almost a year and a half since the accident happened. And a lot of things happened that day. That was a really sad day for me. I had to make one of the toughest decisions I've ever had to make. So if you've really been watching the channel for a long time, and I know some of you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you know that we used to have a dog. And all of a sudden, there's no more dog. And it's, again, something I haven't talked about. And it all goes back to that day on May 28th. So with the dog, there's been some issues. There were some problems with the dog. While most of the time he was great, if you really have been watching the channel for a long time, then you know that I've done some videos with the dog. His name was Sam. We've done some videos. Me and Sam have done videos together where we would rollerblade. We'd jump in the truck. We'd go rollerblade. I'd rollerblade, and he'd run next to me on the leash. And I think we might have done a couple of videos like that. But me and Sam were really close. Really close. And same with Donna. Sam and Donna were also really close. But he had some issues. He would have seizures at night. Every night he'd have a seizure. So while he looked normal for the most part, he would have these seizures every single night. He'd knock himself out almost. But, at the end of the day, we did what we could. Yeah, it woke us up for 2 years or 3 years, however long he was having these seizures. It kept us awake, but we used to have him sleeping at the foot of our bed, and we eventually just moved him to the living room. So when he would have his seizure, he wouldn't run into the wall, because down on the floor at the foot of the bed there was a wall right there, so he'd have a seizure and bounce between the footboard, or I guess you would call it the footboard, and the wall, and he hurt himself. So we gave him a little bit more space to where he wouldn't hurt himself. So he kind of jump up in the air a little and land, and then wake up and then go back to sleep. So his sleep was never really right. But as the years progressed, his conditions got a little bit worse. His seizures were getting worse. Every year the seizures were getting worse. And, we tried our best. But at one point in time, his health really did turn for the worse. And we didn't know what we were going to do. There was a lot of talks of putting him down. And he got real skinny. He had bad diarrhea. His fur fell off. And we ended up putting him on not raw, but an all food diet. He wouldn't eat dog food. He ended up eating chicken breast and rice. He did that for a year. He got a little bit better, and then we finally found a dog food that actually worked, and he started to do okay. His fur came back, his weight came back and everything, but he was definitely different after that. So while he did recover, it wasn't 100%. So for whatever reason, he just could never be 100%. So fast forward, Donna, she gets pregnant with the kid, the first one. And that's when she was pregnant with the first kid, that's when his brain started to get a little weird on us. He really started to want more attention from me, and he kind of took it out on Donna, which was kind of strange. He kind of growled at her a couple times, and she really wasn't happy about that. Well, I really wasn't happy about that, and she didn't want to do anything about it. She really didn't want to lose her companion, and she really just wanted to brush it under the rug. But there was me at the time. I was having I was really confused on what I should do. But we ended up kind of working it out and ignoring it, and things got a little better for a while. And I think a lot of the issues come from when he was sleeping. If you touch him, he could wake up and bite you, or something like that. So we kind of got used to it and kind of learned what to do and not to touch him and things like that. Now, fast forward a couple more months, and we have the kid. We have the kid now, but his damage from when he had his dietary issues, where we finally had to find the right food and all that stuff, and he lost a bunch of weight for a long time and had explosive diarrhea all over the house for a while. Even though that issue was fixed, it did seem like he took on some kind of a damage from that occurrence, and his brain wasn't quite right. So what ended up happening, we had the first kid, is he became really a little bit jealous of the situation. So he was too clumsy for us to have the kid crawl while he was out. So we'd have to put him away. I would block him off of the I would block him into the kitchen with chairs and everything, and I would have the kid crawl. That way he wouldn't step on him, because even though he really wasn't gonna hurt the kid or anything, he was too clumsy to where if he saw the kid crawling, he'd kind of step on him by mistake, and that wouldn't be good. So I would block him off into another room, and he really got jealous of the situation because I had to separate them in order to give the kid time to crawl, time to learn how to move around, tummy time. So we ended up, doing that a couple times, but the more we did that, the more anxiety the dog would have, the more anxiety Sam would have every time we separated them, because he really did have a good relationship with our baby, but we couldn't leave him alone. We couldn't have them on the ground together or anything like that, because he just, he'd be good 90% of the time, and then 10% of the time he'd be scared of inanimate objects. It's very strange. If he was here right now, if Sam was here right now, he would walk by this salt spreader and he would jump at this spreader if he haven't seen it. If I took him for a walk and he's walking along, he looks over at a trash can, he'll jump because the trash can will scare him. It's weird like that. Very jumpy, weird, after this occurrence. So we separated him. Now it got to the point where he started to resent the kid sometimes, because they were separated and so much attention was going to the kid. He started growling at the kid, and he on the day, May 28th, he actually nipped at the kid. He nipped at the baby. Now, he didn't actually bite him, but he kind of lost. It's almost like he forgot where he was or who he was, and he kind of, snapped at the baby a little. So that right then and there, I didn't get mad at the dog. I didn't get mad at Sam, because I knew that it was pretty much out of his control. But I pretty much made the decision that today was the day for him to get the needle. So we reached out to the vet that same day. I let Donna know. She was very heartbroken. She didn't want to do it, but she knew that it was time as well. She knew I was serious and that it was time. And we took him outside. We took some pictures with him. We took him for his favorite thing to do, which his favorite thing is to ride in the F-150 with the windows down. He loved to stick his head out the window and he would drool all over the side of the truck. That was his favorite thing, and we did that. We drove all around the city, took him out of water, let him look out at the water. Took him for a last walk. We ran. He loved to jog and run and rollerblade and all that. So we did all that with him one more time. And we took him to see Dr. Pillsbury. And she, she was talking way too much. That was the weird thing, is she's like, you guys are making the right decision. Don't worry. I'm like, listen, lady, just be quiet. This is a sad moment. Just let us do what we got to do. So it's really tough, because I essentially made the decision And that was probably one of the toughest decisions I've ever made, is giving my buddy, who I love, the needle, giving him this last shot, putting him down, you know what I mean? So they gave him the shot to knock him out first, and it just was so horrible to watch his body go limp. And then they give him the final shot, and even though he was sleeping and could have actually had a surgery performed on him because the anesthetics were so strong, he could still feel the poison. He actually cried when they put the poison in. That's how powerful this stuff is. You can hear him cry, and it sucks because he trusted me. He looked right at me and trusted that I had his interest at heart. But I mean, I didn't want to end up hating him because he did something terrible and then having him go out that way. I'm glad that me and him separated on a good note, and that was kind of the reasoning that I explained to Donna, is that us and Sam would separate on a good note instead of something horrible happening. Maybe he bite the kid or knock over the kid or hurt the kid somehow, or even bite Donna. At least this way we've essentially prevented that from happening. And it was just a horrible thing. So how did this turn into we crashed the truck? How did that happen? So, that day we put down Sam, gave him the needle, and Donna was really upset. Donna was really broken up about this. And she tried to call a family member. And the thing about when you put down a dog is people really don't care like they do if it's a person. Like for the owner of that dog, the owner of that dog or cat or whatever, they've just lost a family member essentially. They're really, really heartbroken. But when you tell somebody, yeah, I put down my dog, a lot of people really aren't going to resonate what you're going through. They're not going to feel like you're going through anything, and especially a person who doesn't have a pet. And I think she might have talked to her sister, and her sister was like, oh, did you put him down yet? Oh, whatever. Didn't care. And it really broke down his heart. So she calls me, and I'm driving the F-150, and she's like, and keep in mind, I'm a little bit shaken up too from putting down her dog. And she's like, oh, I talked to my sister, she doesn't even care that I put down the dog. And when she's saying that, she's like yelling at me about this situation with her sister. And meanwhile, I'm driving, and this guy I'm behind him. He's getting off of the freeway, and he slams his brake at a green light. He slams his brakes at a green light, and then he's got a little car, and I rear end his car going like, I don't know, 10 or 12 miles per hour. I rear end his car. He gets out of the car, and my bumper's dented. The little plastic cap's missing. He looks at his bumper. His bumper, it looked like it might have been a little bit messed up, but you really couldn't tell. Maybe later on you'll notice. And he says, this happens to me all the time because I'm always stopping short in front of people. He's essentially admitted to brake checking people all the time, just by the way he drives. He goes, it's fine, let's not worry about it. And technically speaking, I would have been at fault because I did hit him, and I should have been able to avoid it. But going through so many different things at a time, having someone stop in front of you with a green light, why did you stop? And he admitted to he shouldn't have stopped in the middle of the road, and he admitted fault, even though, I guess, I don't know. I don't really know whose fault, but he admitted fault, and I'm not going to argue with that. So he left, and I look at the damage, and the bumper was a little messed up. Not too bad. Like I said, I pulled it out with a ratchet strap, but it's still a little tweaked. But it kind of made me think, guys, this truck being turned in here soon, it's like, man, this truck's got some history. All the times that we've had the scratch that Donna put on it right here on the door when it was snowing out and she didn't want to move it, and she scratched the door. You think, man, I just want to fix everything and make it perfect. But I don't know, some of these bumps and scratches kind of add a little bit of character. Having this truck for this period of time, 3 years. People pointed out that 3 years is not a lot of time, and for me, 3 years is a lot of time. I've I'm 30 years old. From my perspective, 3 years is a good chunk of time, but I tell you guys, these years are going by faster and faster. Our boy is already 2. He's walking, talking. Our girl, she's going to be growing fast, and it just seems like it's going quicker and quicker and quicker. So part of me almost wants to keep this truck just because of everything. The bumper, yeah, the bumper's been bent, and man, we could fix it right. We could fix it better, but why? Almost that is a reminder of that day. I'll never forget that day that we had to give our poor dog Danito, the bumps and scratches. It is what it is. I feel that the truck has character at this point. This doesn't even open if I touch that. Well, it's already unlocked. I didn't know what I was going to do here. I don't know if that would be the route to go. Keep this old truck. There's a lot of potential here. Give me things to work on. Keeping a vehicle up into the higher mileage. Being able to change, spark plugs, filters, and things like that, where I'm constantly getting these new trucks, and they really don't need much for a while. I mean, this truck being a gas engine, oil changes in air filters. But anyway, guys, that's my time. Thank you for watching DS Trucks. How did this happen? It was the day we put our Sammy down. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you in the next one. This is DS Trucks, where we run nothing but the best. Over and out. Alright guys, this is crazy. I took the dog out for a rollerblade. Check it out. Out here on the back trails, testing out this new wind reduction I put on this camera to see how good it works. Almost went for a spill. Foot got caught on like a stick or something. Go right, go right. Good job. Nothing like a nice little rollerblade with my F-150 along for the ride. What a beautiful truck.